Yo, I think my keys are like sticky or something like that because like I was trying to move the mouse because I use my laptop. And I was trying to use the mouse around and like it was like messing up. I need to clean my computer. Now, don't be thinking anything. I know how y'all get down, but on a serious note, after I had finished my live, this video came up and Law and Crime had did a video on the situation with Brandi Smith, aka 901 Don Diva. And I wanted to pull up this comment because I try to be as cautious and well, I don't think cautious is the right word, but when I tell this story, I try not to make it so salacious. This is allegedly Brandy's sister, and this was left under the video that I'm going to play you guys. It says, "This is my sister, brother-in-law, and nephew. Please be respectful in the comments. Our family sees the comments, and we are truly heartbroken while trying to navigate through this best as possible." In Angela, I think that's how you say, or ain't maybe, yeah, Angela. Yeah, I think that's how you say it. This is her right here. So I try to be as respectful as possible. Um, but naturally, we are all curious on what happened because this is shocking. What's up, Miss Barbara? Thank you for renewing your membership. I appreciate that. Let's go ahead and play the intro, allow more people to get in the room because it seems like I just blow through this quickly and people miss it. So let me play the intro and then we'll get right into the video, you guys. All right, so you guys, like I said, this video from Law and Crime had came up and I was curious what was going on. I started watching it and then I was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and watch it with the people because I know a lot of us still have questions about this whole situation. Again, out of respect for the family, I don't want to make it salacious. We're just going based off of the information that we know. So I'm not going to add anything that I don't know to this story. But again, let me say what's up to the people before we start. What's up, Winnie? How you doing? What's up, Wanda? What's up, Diamond? How you doing? What's up, beautiful? Who else we got here? We got Darius up in the building. We got Shawnee. Thank you, Shawnee, for being here. What's up, Gemini I? Thank you for being here. Miss Barbara, of course, she renewed her membership. Appreciate you. Make sure you get yours. What's up, Bama Girl? What's up, Barbara? What's up, Adrian? What's up, Cam? Hello, hello, hello. All right. What's up, Ronnie? What's up, Shaqueen? Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and start the video, and we're gonna get right into it. This is from Law and Crime.
Midnight this morning, our 911 communication center received a call from a young man who stated he had just killed his parents.
That young man was a 14-year-old boy, and he made a shocking 911 call from a church.
You need to pray. You need to pray? Yes, ma'am.
I look at the disturbing double homicide case out of Florida, and the sheriff will join me with new details about the case.
And after he committed this heinous, terrible crime, he called her first.
Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy. A family in Clay County, Florida is mourning a terrible, terrible loss and likely trying to figure out what happened after a...
Since this is a serious situation, I'm going to let you slide, Mary, but please don't test my patience. I hope that was for somebody else and not for me. Please do not test me. Not right now, okay? This is your warning. Have a great day, Mary. All right, let's continue.
14-year-old boy called 911 and admitted to shooting and killing his parents. This all happened in Middlesburg, Florida, which is in Clay County in the greater Jacksonville area. This is a relatively safe area. And while this would be shocking no matter where it happened, it was particularly surprising to happen in this community. The sheriff says 14-year-old Trevor Lee shot and killed his parents at the family's home on Silver Point. It happened sometime early Sunday morning. An incident report says Clay County deputies found Dave Lee and Brandi Smith Lee with gunshot wounds in their bedroom. And their son, Trevor Lee, had walked to a church and called 911, but not before his sister called 911 first. Take a listen.
Are you there with him? Send help. No, I'm all the way in California. Please, I need you to send help. What makes you? I don't know. I don't know where he's at. I have no idea where he's at. But please, hurry up.
Now, as I mentioned, that was Trevor Lee's older sister, and she's in the military.
So again, that was the sister. The sister actually was the first one to make a call because the brother had called his sister about what he did.
In California. Trevor's sister said something that might be important later.
Honestly, I'm in the military. I don't know what goes on. But they just had a good day. They went to the movies, bro. They went to the movies.
The older sister told that 911 call taker that they had had a good day and had gone to the movies. So who knows what that could reveal. Then Trevor Lee called 911 from the Cross Point Church early Sunday morning. Now, a lot of these calls are redacted because in Florida, if a person makes admissions to a crime, they are redacted from the public record until the case ends.
911, how can I help you?
Hello, I'm by the road. I threw my backpack away from me. I'm stripped. I'm waiting for the police.
What do you mean you're
I have
stripped?
nothing in my pocket. I emptied my pockets and everything. There's nothing in my pockets. And I'm on my.
So real quick, the fact that he was able to call the police and what he said he stretched out. I don't know what that means, but he said like he emptied his pockets. It's almost like, please don't come in here and shoot me. Like that's almost how I feel. Like he was basically pleading, like he was saying I'm stretched out and all my pockets are empty, so they knew that he wasn't a threat. That's what I feel like he was saying. Man, that's chilling, very eerie and chilling at the same time.
On the sidewalk, I'm like in the middle part.
You're going to be in the parking lot?
No, like in the middle part.
In the middle part of what? Of the church?
I'm gonna pray first. I need to pray.
You need to pray?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Before you start praying, tell me exactly where you're at.
If you're driving towards the church, like I'm right out in front of the church, there's a big cross.
Keep in mind, during this call, Trevor Lee has told the call taker that he shot and killed his parents. At one point during the call, the 14-year-old relies on that call taker for comfort.
Can you pray?
Go ahead, I'll listen to you.
Well, I was going to ask if you could pray for me, ma'am. Right now.
I'll definitely be praying for you, son. Okay, we've asked them not to point guns at you. Okay, they're going to be approaching you any minute.
Now, this 911 call taker, she's worried that this could be an ambush. Sheriff Michelle Cook, she's going to join me to discuss why very shortly.
And, he was asking her to pray for him. Like, can you pray for me? Yeah.
Detectives and crime scene techs spent the morning at the house processing the scene. And a friend of Trevor Lee's told local news outlets that they are stunned by what has happened. One of the friends said that Trevor's family was one of the nicest that he knew, and that David and Brandi treated him very well, and that they considered him like a son and treated him as such. That same friend told a local TV station that Trevor called him around midnight to say goodnight and told him he loved him. Records show that the Clay County Sheriff's Office has been called to the home 5 times since 2021, once for a suicide threat that year. In 2022, there was a call for a disturbance. In 2024, deputies were called to the house twice for a sick person. And in April of this year, there was an unknown follow-up investigation.
Wow. So after his phone call was played, that's when I stopped watching, and I was like, you know what? I want to watch it with the people. So this is news to me right here. I didn't even pay attention to this, so I'm going to blow it up. So she said that, there was calls made to the home. So person shot, that was, okay, I got to start from the bottom. So on 3/24/2021, there was a suicide threat. 7/8/2022, there was a disturbance. And then there's two more calls, one on on March 21st, 2024, and then April 5th, 2024. It said one sick or down. I don't know what that means. And then there was a follow-up investigation, and then yeah. So we were wondering if, like, what was going on in the home. So again, we don't know who these situations are attached to, but this is the home. And I'm figuring they must have lived in the home at this time. Just like I say, you never really know what's going on with people. We just see, when they come online, or in Brandy's case, when she came in the chat, we don't really know what people are going through in real life.
Then came the call for the shooting early Monday morning. I cover a lot of really scary crime stories here on Crime Fix, and if it's taught me anything, it's that privacy and personal safety, absolute incognito is cropping up. Code Crime Fix below.
Oh, a little bit of news to share. This is obviously extremely tragic when you have a 14-year-old that feels such a way that the only solution is to kill their parents. We are still very early in this investigation. The suspect has been very cooperative with our detectives, and walking us through his thought process, and all of that will be revealed in time. But through the investigative process, we did discover that he had called his sister prior to calling 911. And so that's some new information that we're going to have to track down. His sister is in the military, is stationed in another state. So we're going to have to get her in and interview her regarding this issue, this terrible, terrible incident.
Wow. That kind of blows my mind. I mean, it does and it doesn't. I mean, he's done something that he's admitted to, and he calls his older sister. Obviously, she's older. She's in the military. Do we have any idea kind of how much older? I mean, is she 18, 19, 20?
I don't know how old she is. I know she's old enough obviously she's stationed out in, I believe, in California.
I know they confirmed that she's 20 years old. Maybe she doesn't know, but she's 20. So she's an adult.
And after he committed this heinous, terrible crime, he called her first. What's interesting is after he shot his parents, he walked over about a mile and a half to a church where, and we believe during that time that he was walking to the church is when he called her, and then when he got to the church is when he called our 911 communication center.
Do we have an idea? I mean, that's another kind of strange thing about this. Do we know why he decided to walk to the church? I mean, I can kind of connect a dot and think that he called his sister to tell her what he did, and she likely told him to call law enforcement. That's right. Where I'm going in my head with that. But why walk to the church?
Well, where his house is in relation to the church, even though it was, probably close to a mile and a half walked, it was a pretty direct line. This church sits up on a major road and is easily discernible as you're walking.
What I'm wondering is, are they connected to that church and that's why he went there, or what took him to that church? You know what I mean?
I'm thinking like you, that his sister just encouraged him to call 911. And he probably felt that, walking up to the church and waiting for deputies to arrive was probably the safest place for him to do that.
So he walks to the church and
I thought about that too, Cam, how, this is a 14-year-old, we talked about that earlier, right? So what I was thinking was that, with our kids, they usually don't care what they look like. And a 12-year-old black child is considered an adult in people's eyes. So, of course, they're going to make him out to be an adult. I bet you anything they're going to have a conversation about whether or not to charge him like an adult. I think that conversation is coming.
Calls 911. Your call takers, or the 911 center call takers, I'm assuming, they're dispatching, they're trying to get information from him. They're talking to him. What can we glean from this whole thing about why this unfolded the way that it did?
Interestingly enough, we've had quite a few swatting calls in our community over the past couple of years. So initially, when the call came in, there was some concern with our communication center that this was going to be another swatting call. So our communication center kept him on the line for quite a while as deputies responded to the house and surrounded the house. And then
thank you, Stephanie. She said, for purpose of journalism, if a person is an adult for criminal liability purposes, the news can publish a picture, but I can't imagine he's an adult by law for criminal purposes. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, he's not an adult, I would definitely think they would leave him like anonymous, for his protection. But yeah, like I said, I guess they don't care. They even took do they typically take mug shots of, well, yeah, they have to. There is juvenile detention, right?
And attempted to make contact with the occupants inside the house. And based upon the information that our communications center was being given, the deputies made the determination to go ahead and make entry into the home to do what we call a protective sweep, where the deputies found the two deceased parents. And then our comm center, our dispatcher did a fantastic job keeping him on the phone and talking to him. And within just a couple of minutes, we were able to put eyes on him at the church. And at this point, we don't know if he was still armed. So the deputy that had eyes on him waited for a couple of backup deputies to get there, and then they came up with a plan and took him into custody. He came into custody peacefully. He did not, push back at all. He was in fact extremely cooperative with the deputies who took him into custody at the scene. At the church, and then also with the detectives later on in the evening who were interviewing him.
What did?
That's actually a good question, Miss Barbara. But we do know that they have been out to the home about 5 or more times. So, and one of them was for an unalivement of self-threat. I have to say it like that for the algorithm, but an unalivement of self-threat. And then there seemed to be like follow-ups or disturbance at the home or something like that. So again, we don't know all the details, but that could be a factor as well too. Thank you for bringing that up. That was a good question.
What did you say happened as far as this, I guess maybe a disagreement with his parents? I mean, what do we know about that?
At this point, there's not a whole lot I can release regarding that because that, leads to a potential motive or potential defense for him. And, I will say that he was very candid about an argument that happened with his parents earlier in the evening. And he felt that, that this was his only way out, so to speak, was to take matters into his own hands. Very, very sad.
Wow. Do we have any inkling, or do you have an idea of how long it was between this argument and him actually shooting his parents? I mean, was there any cooling off period?
I don't have the exact time, but I would say a couple of hours of him contemplating on what his next steps would be.
And I want to say too, and thank you, V, for bringing this up. That necessarily doesn't have to be for him. Like, all those calls were related to him. That definitely could have been related to Brandi, David, or even the daughter. That could have been related to them. That did not have to be related to him necessarily, but it does make you think. Like, it kind of gives you an idea like, okay, there was something going on. Again, I don't want to say that this was the reason why they were unalive. I'm not saying that. Let's be clear. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that obviously something was going on, and this probably did play a role into what happened. All right, let's continue.
Again, a heavy burden for a 14-year-old to be in that position and feel that that was his way of handling it, so to speak. But the argument had happened earlier in the evening, so probably at least a couple of hours before.
And he uses his own parents, their firearm to carry this crime out.
As far as we know, the weapon used belonged to his mother.
So did the homicides happen right before he calls the sister, or did he wait? I mean, were they asleep in bed? I mean, what was going on?
That I don't know. I don't know from the time he shot his parents to the time he called his sister. I don't know how much time had lapsed, and we will probably be able to figure out a timeline through our investigative process. I do know that it probably took him a good 15 minutes to walk that mile and a half from his home to the church. So I don't know if he left immediately after killing his parents and walked to the church, or if he waited around and then walked to the church. But we'll be able to figure that out through our interviews and piecing together the evidence that we have.
You never know what goes on behind closed doors in somebody's house. But we've seen some kids on the local news down there saying that this seemed like a nice family, like that the parents were welcoming to the other kids. And these kids are shocked. They can't believe it. These friends of Trevor Lee. So, this to me is very confounding. Again, I say that, saying that you never know what's going on behind closed doors.
Shocked, tragic. Clay County is an extremely safe community. We are, we have a population of about 240,000 people in our community.
Addicted, that is a good question. I don't know if he was bullied, but his friend, said that they took him in like he was, not took him in, but they treated him like he was a part of the family. He was over their house all the time. He didn't mention anything about, Trevor being bullied. So that is a good question. But it seems like it came from an argument that he had with his parents.
We are a very safe community. This has shocked the core of our community. Trevor was known by a lot of people. He was a local football player, and just very shocked and tragic. And you never know what's going on behind closed doors. And I'm hoping that for the sake of the family, that we can at least come to some conclusion as to what led up to this.
Most certainly. Well, it sounds like, the teenage boy is cooperating, as you said. Trevor Lee is cooperating, but my God, it's wow. It's still, having covered crime for a long time, this is very shocking to me. No. Sheriff Cook, is there anything else you'd like to add?
What I would like to say is, parents, make sure you're talking to your kids. Make sure you have an open line of communication with them, and if there's a kid that's struggling, that may hear this, reach out and ask for help.
No doubt. Sheriff Michelle Cook, thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, there are still so many questions that we really don't have the answers to right now. And one is whether Trevor Lee will be charged as an adult. I spoke with former Palm Beach County State Attorney Dave Ehrenberg about that. So, Dave, you're now in private practice as a defense attorney on the other side of the courtroom. This is an absolute tragedy on many levels.
So to speak on Margot's comment, they said that they had an argument earlier. So it seemed like whatever the dispute, and I hate saying argument because at 14, can you really argue with your parents? But it was an argument, I'll just say for this purpose, but it was an argument. And then, that happened later on.
There are still a lot of questions that we don't have the answers to, but I want to ask you specifically, we've got a 14-year-old boy who calls 911 from a church and says, I've shot and killed my parents. And so he's fessing up on a 911 call. We don't know anything about the circumstances surrounding this. Right now, he's charged with second-degree murder. His name is out there. How do you handle this as a state attorney, as the elected prosecutor?
Well, first, it's good to be back with you, Anjanette. It's a tough one whenever you have someone so young, but the crime is so heinous that it should be treated most likely as an adult crime, because if you treat this as a juvenile crime, then...
And to answer your question about the gun, you guys, why was it out or how did he get access? It says in Florida, while there's no blanket requirement to lock up all firearms, there are specific situations where it's legally mandated. Generally, firearms must be stored securely to prevent access by minors. Specifically, if a minor can gain access to a loaded firearm without permission, it must be stored in a locked container or secured with a trigger lock. Violating these storage requirements is a misdemeanor. So they do have laws, but it seemed like it's not blanketed, but you are supposed to keep it out of reach of minors. So I just wanted to read that when I looked it up.
You're limited to the sanctions that can be imposed. The juvenile system will lose jurisdiction over you at the age of 19. There's some exceptions, but this person, no matter what motivated him to do this, you would probably say that he deserves to be treated by the criminal justice system beyond the next 5 years, that this is not someone who you would want let out on the streets at the age of 20. And so I think that's why adult sanctions are more appropriate. We don't know enough about this case to make a determination right now, but I can tell you, especially in Clay County, a very conservative area, that's almost certainly the direction they're going to go.
Mm-hmm. So you see this likely based on the limited facts we have now. All we really know is that this 14-year-old calls 911 and he's apparently killed his parents with one of their guns. Says, I did this. I mean, he does call and says, I'm at this church. I mean, he's giving law enforcement the information. It kind of shows you there may have been some regret. I mean, there's a level of, I don't know what going on, because we need more information, but you see them moving forward with this and charging this 14-year-old as an adult.
Yes, I do. Now, you cannot get the death penalty for an underage person. The Supreme Court some years ago made that unconstitutional. And so you can, though, get a maximum of life in prison. You just have to.
And that's because of history and what they would do to us back in the day. But I wanted to say this because I wanted to go back to the calls. We don't know if those calls to the home were for him. They could have been for anybody. They're not really giving us specifics, like information on what exactly went down, what the conversation consisted of with Trevor. We don't know yet. So I don't want to say that he was the one who called or they called for him. I don't know. It could be anybody in that home. We really don't know. But either way, no matter who it was for in that home, it kind of gives us a clue like, okay, something was going on. There was some kind of disturbance or a history of it, at least. I'm not saying that they deserve to be unalive. Let's be clear. Don't get me wrong. But again, I'm just saying that we can't confirm like those calls were for him, because he would have been 2021. That was 4 years ago. So he would have been 10, 11. So yeah, that would be kind of hard saying like all those calls would be for him, especially the first one in 2021. That was a suicide. So, and again, we do know that kids are capable of harming themselves. We hear stories about young kids being bullied and then they unalive. We hear that. So I'm not saying that can't be, but again, with his age, I find it kind of hard that was for him. I just feel like if it was something where it was like mental health and they knew of things, I feel like that would have just been blanketly said like, yeah, he had history and all this stuff. Because I mean, they already put out his picture as a minor. So I mean, shit, you might as well put everything out now. Like, I feel like they honestly was all like, you know what? We're going to try to charge him as an adult. Let's just put his information out there. That's how I kind of feel.
To jump through extra hoops because it's a juvenile, but a juvenile can get life in prison. We don't know exactly what motivated this person. I mean, by the media's accounts, the family looked very normal from the outside. They had apparently loving parents, but we don't know what was going on there. And if it turns out to be something less than murder,
I highly doubt CTE because again, we don't even know how long he was playing for. So, and him being like 14, I highly doubt that.
manslaughter, it still should be treated by the adult system because, again, the juvenile system will lose jurisdiction over this young man in just a few years.
Second-degree murder is the charge right now. Do you see that potentially being bumped up to first degree?
Yes. There really is no extra benefit about charging him with first-degree murder. You have to prove premeditation. This looked like, by all accounts, it was an angry fight that went on and an impetuous 14-year-old who grabbed the parent's gun and shot them both. And if you did seek first-degree murder, the main punishment used there, capital punishment, the top punishment is off the table anyway. So you're dealing with a situation where second-degree murder seems to be the more correct charge because he's not going to get capital punishment. He's ineligible.
Exactly, Margo.
And you can still get life in prison for a second-degree murder charge just as you could for a first-degree murder charge.
A 14-year-old, and we don't know if this 14-year-old has had some trouble in his background. We don't know if he's got a prior criminal record because he's a juvenile. So we don't really have access to that information, but we know right now he's in custody. He's not on the jail roster in the adult jail. So do you house him, I guess, even though he's likely going to be charged as an adult, still in juvenile detention?
Well, yeah, there's a special floor of the jail in Palm Beach County, and I would assume it's similar in other counties in Florida where you have juveniles who are charged as adults. They're kept away from the adult population. You don't want to put a 14-year-old with the adult jail population. So there is a way to accommodate a situation like this. Now, 14 is extra young. That's even young for the juvenile system. But we've seen murders of even younger defendants than 14. So more details will come out about this, but when you're 14, your brain's still developing, and you should never give a 14-year-old access to a gun. It looks like the gun was not locked up, and the 14-year-old obviously knew where it was, and it was accessible to him. So this is yet another example of gun owners not taking the proper precautions. Gun safety is so important. I'm a gun owner myself. I would never think to have a gun hanging around the house easily accessible to a teenager.
That is something.
You know what I just thought about too? How did he know how to shoot a gun? I've never shot a gun. I've seen guns in person and stuff like that, but I've never shot one. Like, how at 14 did he know how to shoot a gun? Like, yeah, like crazy.
Thing that's really been brought up to me and in comments about this story is the fact that this teenager used his parents' gun, more than likely, to kill his parents during a domestic dispute. And so even if there are just adults in the home, they recommend that you should always be storing these firearms in a gun safe. They shouldn't just be easily accessible or laying out kind of willy-nilly for anybody to handle.
That's right. And parents could be charged if they don't take the proper precautions, but they're dead here. I mean, it's such a tragedy. And so there are not going to be any further charges relating to that. And now the son is going to face repercussions really the rest of his life. And I'm sure he's going to have serious regret. He's 14. His brain is still developing. I'm sure he pretty much does not comprehend what he just did entirely. I mean, he just did something that destroyed 3 lives, his 2 parents and his own.
And we don't know what was going on inside the home, but we do know that a lot of the friends of this teenager have been saying, that, I've been over there. The parents always treated me really nicely. This is something that happened as far as we can tell.
You guys, I'm not obtuse. I know, but I'm just saying, like, what makes you go V and Stephanie, be quiet. I know, but I'm just saying a 14-year-old, that's not even on my mind. That's more or less what I mean. How he even had the thought to even be all I mean, I played video games as a kid too, but I knew those were video games. I would never, for me, I can only speak for me, I would never go to a gun and be all okay, I'm gonna pick it up and shoot some. I don't know. I'm just, again, I've never been in that situation, so I can't say. but I just find it not natural for a kid to. Well, it's not natural. It's not.
Close to midnight. We don't know what was going on in the home. You never know what's going on behind closed doors. But from what the friends are saying, these teenage friends, they didn't see any red flags, or at least they're not saying that they did right now.
Correct, but as you correctly said, you don't know what goes on behind those closed doors. The family that seems perfect from the outside can be far less once you're inside the home. This was at midnight, though. The tensions were heated. There was a bad fight, and somehow he got access to a gun and started shooting, and then reported on himself. He called 911, went to the church, and was arrested. But now this is a tragedy all around, and it's going to drip out the details in the next few weeks, and we'll learn more and more. But even if there were problems at home, it never justifies taking law in your own hands and shooting to death your parents. I mean, even the Menendez brothers, who alleged it was sexual abuse in the home, they would have still been convicted of a crime. It would have been manslaughter, perhaps, and not murder. So we're not talking about, even if there was a bad situation at home, that this would be.
And the Menendez brothers were adults when they committed theirs. So I think, yeah, you can kind of say it's similar, but it's a lot different. They were adults.
Exoneration. This would be a get out of jail free card. No, you still have to face the consequence.
And, I know there's a history where their father was accused of abuse and stuff like that. So I'm not excusing that. But also with the Menendez brothers, their parents had a lot of money too as well. This don't seem like some kind of calculated orchestrated thing. Like, he admitted, like, yeah, this is me. The Menendez, they effed off with the money and then got caught up in their lies.
Consequences of your actions. And unless there's self-defense here, and there's no evidence that the parents grabbed the gun and was trying to kill the son, so self-defense would not seem to be a defense here. This kid's going away for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and violence is never the answer, especially gun violence. Picking up guns to solve problems is never the answer. So how long do you think this decision will take? How long do you think the state attorney in Clay County, do you think that it'll take long for that person to make this decision? Or do you think it'll be like pretty clear cut?
They'll be quick about the decision. There are time limits in place, and they'll move ahead with the decision. They'll announce that he's going to be tried as an adult. I'm sure it'll be a murder charge, most likely second-degree murder. I would be shocked if they decided to now move it into the juvenile system. Also, the cat is out.
What's also interesting is that, so he went to, as I'm understanding, Trevor went to their bedroom. So the GUN wasn't in their bedroom. It was in, he went to them while they were in their bedroom. So the GUN, the gun, well, they've already said gun. The gun was accessed somewhere else in the home, unless he took it out the bedroom before and then went to them and then did what he did.
Out of the bag. In the juvenile system, everything is done confidentially.
Mm-hmm.
And in the adult system, everything's out in the public. Well, we already know the names of everyone involved here. And so there's not a lot of incentive to all of a sudden put the toothpaste back in the tube and now say, okay, we're going behind closed doors. We're not going to let anyone know who the parties are. We're going to put this in a juvenile system. We're going to get them rehabilitation, and we'll be back on the streets at the age of 19 or 20. So no, that's not going to happen. I think for sure in that area in Clay County, they're going to prosecute him as an adult.
Yeah. Only a matter of time. Well, we will keep an eye on it. Dave Ehrenberg, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's the end of that video, you guys. The only thing, like I said, this is a 14-year-old, so it's not like a situation like, yeah, get him, he needs to go to jail. And I feel a little indifferent about the situation. I think once we know all the facts, that will be something to, okay, now we know all the facts and this is what happened, okay, boom. But I feel just trying to throw him away I don't like that because this is a 14-year-old child, even though they kept saying young man. This is a 14-year-old child. Like, I'm one of those people that kind of want to hear like the facts before making a public, um, not a public opinion, but trying to already criminalize somebody who, granted, he did it. So I mean, it's not like he's getting off or anything like that. We know that. The only thing I can hope for is that hopefully, um, they get him some lawyers. More than likely, it'll be a public defender, but somebody to at least look out for him while he goes through this, because he's going to be spending a lot of time in jail. I don't know how long, or if he's going to be in there for life. Um, I can't imagine. Do they give life sentences to children? Again, I don't know too many cases of people who have unalived their parents, so I don't know. But do they give life sentences to children? I'm not saying he needs to be out tomorrow. I'm not saying that, you guys, but I'm saying like, um, yes, they can. Oh wow. 25 to life, tried as an adult. Mm, yeah. Right, Lisa, you saying the real right there. Yeah. Yeah, all I can say is, pray for the family. My condolences to the family. Rest in peace to Brandi Smith and David Lee. It's a sad situation. Um, I kind of got a little nervous about talking about this just because, like, I don't want to be irresponsible with it. I can just only put out the stuff that I know. I can draw, a few conclusions, but I don't want to go to the extreme and disrespect the family. Like, I still have to be cautious about all this. So, yeah, the only thing I can say is pray for the family. And if there's any other update, I'll let you guys know. But other than that, you guys have a great night. Thank y'all for checking out the show. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. And thank y'all for watching. Deuces, everybody.